Friends, 2024 is wrapping up and a very exciting yet intense 2025 follows. This New Year's resolution you make over the next week may be life-changing. And also today, we have special guest medium Crista Marie and Mary Magdalene. Keep streaming for LOL now.
I don't just talk stuff and repeat stuff. I'm living this stuff.
And you can thank me for covering your astro. Welcome to Leading Out Loud, a TV podcast hosted by a psychic medium and an astrologer bringing spiritual views from above on modern-day topics. This week, we're talking about the conservative energy of Capricorn and how it's time to make new choices that change you and therefore your life. And later, special guest Crista Marie is here to talk about her research about the time of Christ. Hey, buddy, we've got Christ's wife on today. That's a pretty good score.
Right, I know. So, and how you feeling after the holiday? You feeling a little bloaty, gassy? How you feeling?
He's poking because we had dinner at his mom's house and his dad's, and she's like a big Italian. But your mom is an amazing cook, by the way. The Italian food is the best in the world, and I am very bloated. Yes, thank you.
That's good. Hopefully, we'll keep you nice and grounded today. So that's great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm mad and wait. I forgot to take home the leftovers. I forgot to.
You did. I know we left so much, so I can give you some later if you need.
Okay, awesome, perfect. Well, we're in the last week here of the year, Scott, and we're going to talk first about our psychic surf report and the energy. What's this energy been like for you? Astrologically, it's been a lot of core inner tests of inner discipline.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, for me, I've been saying probably for the past couple of weeks, I've been very tired. I've been sleeping a lot too. Like when I'm not working, downtime, anytime I have any type of, ambition to like want to start a project, Spirit's like, nope, you got to go rest. So, and I've been seeing that collectively actually. So it's not just me. I've been seeing a lot of people very, very tired. And I think that's just an indication, like you said, there's a purge going on too. And I think that during this time, as we're purging, resting, recuperating, all that type of, energy in that sense, or that modality is, telling us that we do need a reset before things become, very much in motion. Like in 2025, I've been saying it's a year of movement. Tangibly, I think it's kind of like a preparation too, clearing out the last bit of crap, right, before we move forward and now allowing ourselves to be energized and revamped as 2025 begins. All the seeds you planted will start coming to fruition. It's like things will start pressing play on the tangible. So we got to be prepared for that. So I think it's kind of allowing us to get every little last bit out and purge and to recoup before it does. So,
and I've never purged so much, dude.
I know.
I mean, first of all, I slept all weekend. I've been sleeping a lot, and I was worried because I had some health issues. Now Capricorn for me is the house of health, so now I'm finally facing health issues. But I was so tired. But I predicted this anyways. Mars retrograde, especially for men, sort of takes the wind out of your sails and makes you really only have the energy for what's most important. So I think there's a big redirect going on with Mars retrograde right now in Leo. And today, Mars is at 3 degrees Leo, by the way. So we're changing our responses to how we believe in ourselves. Does your ego, stand up for you, or does your ego actually argue with you and talk you out of believing with yourself? But the first week of Capricorn is always really the New Year's resolution week. Because what you're doing is you're making decisions for yourself and commitments to yourself. But the thing about this year is this is the first time Pluto's not in Capricorn. So we're sort of free. And to some degree, I think that freedom, I think we can feel the freedom. I don't know. Do you feel a bit more free or liberated, let's say, from constraints energetically?
Yeah, because I think we're all feeling it in our own way. So me allowing myself to just relax and chill feels freeing. Like, there's no repercussions of doing so. I need this. So I felt free in that retrospect. Yeah, for sure.
Pluto has a restraining energy that's almost comfortable because it's sort of like when you wrap a baby up like a papoose, and I kind of feel like to some degree, there's just a little bit of anxiety because we could destroy our lives again. Like Pluto is not the safe rails anymore. And I certainly felt that too. I mean, I felt that in decisions for health and things like that. Like, I want to make the right decision. Whereas when Pluto was there, I felt like I always was, or I would lead to it, right? But there's also other stuff too. I mean, we're making decisions. So this is the week. I mean, it's the week before New Year's, but it's also the week where we make decisions for ourselves every year. So it's interesting how New Year's lines up with this week.
Right.
But there's some other stuff going about as well. We have the North Node ending its transit in Aries. It's now down to 1 degree Aries. And the North Node is the way you need to go. And 1 degree Aries is act on self-love, period. So the self-love lesson is intensifying right now this week. We also have Venus squaring Uranus. First, Jupiter and Saturn just squared on Christmas Eve. So I don't know, did you have like the night before Christmas when there was a creature stirring, did you feel kind of a shift on your perspective of how you look at life?
I did, and collectively too, I've seen that. I mean, I realized my thing was how much I allow people irritate me out and about, and how much I'm like trying to be so everyone's got to be in this certain modality and considerate. I'm like, no, actually, people are not going to be considerate, and stop letting it get to you. So I feel like Christmas Eve really pushed out of my face a lot, and showing to me like, look, you get agitated because people are not in the same rhythm. They're never going to be. Get over it, So yeah, I started seeing how I allow myself get irritated about things I just don't need to be irritated over. So, and I actually shut people out on Christmas Eve too.
I know, I called all night. It was sad. Just kidding. It was horrible.
He got Aquarius ghosted. So,
Yeah. Well, there were 14 degrees. I mean, Jupiter and Saturn are big planets. Jupiter's all of our belief structure. Saturn's all of our control. So when you have two big planets like that squaring, obviously at the same degree or step number, in this case 14, which adds to a 5, which means a different mental perspective. So in essence, it should have been a new approach. And in your case, you're saying it was a new approach to people, what they say, again, Mercury getting to you, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I had an interesting, I realized that I'm still finding places where I'm not loving myself first. And it's so funny because for me, it's been subconscious, growing up with my family, I was a caretaker, and I just subconsciously throw my needs to the side. So I think I finally got it, at least intellectually with that square. But we'll see. Just give me 2 minutes to screw it up. I'm sure I will.
I'm saying it's like a balancing out, Grace. You just have to find the consistency in it. I think that's the challenge, is when we have to find the consistency in that new pattern, so you'll find it.
Well, I also realized too, like the fight or flight thing, which is North Node in Aries, if someone's in trouble, if something is, on the edge, I go into subconscious and just throw all my needs out the window. And it's not till I am, barefoot and pregnant that I realize something has happened.
Right.
So it's crazy. You come out of that spell. We also have Venus squaring Uranus on Saturday. So what's interesting about that is that would now be a different look at the future. Now that you've had this look in the daily life. So we're expecting some changes then as well. I would imagine over the weekend. And again, it's New Year's weekend. When is New Year's Eve exactly? It's next week actually, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday next week. Yeah, but you're going to feel kind of New Year's Eve, I think, over the weekend. Everyone will. Because they're going to realize they want to change their life and probably make their resolutions. And then Chiron stations direct on Sunday. And the big deal for that is we've had the chance to heal our ego's fear of going forward or pushing for what we want. And so in Chiron direct in Aries, it basically suggests it's time to now push forward with the new. So it's like 1 week spiritual car wash, major realizations, and go 2025.
Right. Yeah. And I do feel like this weekend too, planning for the future. And making the plans for the future, whether or not, if it's a relationship that's expanding, you're planning for the future solidity of that. If it's like, you're planning to start that project, you're starting to realize it's going to become more tangible, for you, and more, I would say, fully realized to get it done. So yeah, I definitely sense a burst of ambition this weekend and feeling like, okay, I feel like a little bit of a fire starting here. So, so absolutely. And I think, I don't know, I feel like just love in the air too. So maybe it's just me, I don't know. But I've been seeing a lot of other people connecting with other relationships and fellowshipping. So I feel like the next couple of weeks, it'll be a lot more fellowshipping and connectivity in that way too. Not just because of New Year's, but just
also because of business. I think, Capricorn is business. So, getting the business done, making contracts, solidifying deals.
Yeah.
Do you feel, actually, we've all been asking, is Scott pregnant? Because he's been really happy lately, and we don't know what you're on. Chris and I had a sidebar after after the Italian life yesterday. Like, has he gained weight? He's kind of bloated.
I've gained weight, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm wondering, as far as making plans are concerned, can you this is our pre-New Year's episode. Do you have any big psychic predictions for 2025 you want to share now?
Well, that will definitely be on my live show tonight called 2025 Predictions.
Damn it, that damn show.
So you want to know from there. But I think that generally speaking, so what I've been saying, just to kind of you brush the tip of that, that's what she said, that I think a lot of this will be, like we're saying, tangible movement of things, tangible manifestation of things. So the things that we planted seeds on start popping up to manifestation, those who've done the work. So I really feel on the personal levels, we're going to start seeing those things that we've been putting our energy to starting to blossom. I think politically, I just kind of generally speaking, I'll get more specific on my show tonight. I do feel like in 2025, the economy will get better. I feel like, and I feel a huge burst in May, when it comes to if you're trying to sell a home, buy a home, I feel like it's just going to be a great boost in May around in the real estate avenue for people. And I feel cryptocurrency continue to increase. It'll have its kind of dipping moments too. So I just see a lot of great financial stability for people individually. And so, and a lot of new realizations about things that were hidden in our governments and so forth being exposed in 2025 and 2026. So I'll just kind of start there, but I do feel an upward motion for 2025.
Yeah, and also challenging, upward as in pushing a boulder upward to some degree. Saturn moves into Aries, Neptune moves into Aries, Uranus moves into Gemini. Those are all slow-moving planets that all change signs. So that tells you right there, the tone of the whole Earth is absolutely going to change next year.
Yes.
Aries is ego, go get it. So I kind of feel like if there are people who are still fighting others, it's going to intensify. If you're still playing that struggle bus game.
Right.
But also I feel like it's a big green light for those people who are moving on to a new thing. But I feel like everyone's going to be in each other's way because everyone's moving at the same time.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of traffic. And I also feel that it's a year where you're going to see a lot of conflict, obviously, in big government or big operations, things like that.
Right.
But the economy, with Uranus wrapping up Taurus, that's basically the World War II economy. So, which just to give you like parallel, this is when we were still adding a lot of money to the budget for weaponry and all this stuff. We were in debt with everyone. But when Uranus went to Gemini and then we moved into the war ended, boom, we had a huge financial boom. So I still predict that would happen. I guess, all the, the digital coins are all through the roof right now. The blockchain's doing really well. So everyone's doing well. What's interesting is everyone has a positive attitude about the financial future of next year. I've been watching the stock market. It's just trading like, busters.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. And I kind of felt that, psychically about 2023, 2024, when I was like looking ahead, people saying what to expect. And, I saw a big boom, especially in May of 2025.
Yeah. Well, the United States had its Pluto return a couple years ago, and the United States has karma around keeping finances in the long term. Like their karma is their big picture approach, our big picture approach to money, to wealth, and to sustaining wealth. And, we go up, we go down, we've had lots of issues. The point is, after this return, I do expect the United States economy to do nothing but sweeten and get better and better, maybe through new practices. We'll see. Trump and all of his tariff threats are really making a lot of changes too. Just a threat.
Sure.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a threat. A lot of it's just sensationalized, but we'll find things balancing out. Just like we always get hysteria over things, we all panic about things, and then it ends up working out either way. So, I kind of even said, not to get political and to be long-winded about this, but I said like even before, yeah, Trump's gonna be president, he's gonna lose, Biden will come in, and Trump's gonna come in to repair everything. Like that, they've almost planned that. You know what I'm saying? And so there's things behind the scenes that we're seeing that they gotta build it up and tank it for some reason, and build it up again. So it's all it's all manipulated to me. So even just psychically, I feel that if you kind of look and understand how the government plays, you'll start understanding why it's this up and down effect.
Well, if you want to give some parallel, Pluto's now at step 0 Aquarius, which is the beginning of higher vibration, higher frequency. But we are in the middle of the American Revolutionary War with Pluto at 0. The war didn't end until Grandmaster 4 degrees Aquarius. So technically, we're still at war, so to speak, trying to figure out how to raise the vibe for another year or two. So I think we're going to see that play out. The Palladians agree with that. All sorts of people agree with that. The last thing I'll throw out there is the North Node is moving into Pisces in January. And this is a big deal because it's been 18 years since it was last in Pisces. Oh, wow. And having it move in Pisces means there is a spiritual story shift, 100%. It also means that reality, Virgo, the South Node, is no longer applicable. I think one of the themes next year is kind of don't trust the reality you see, because what you see is what was, not will be. And so, having to maintain faith, huge theme in 2025 and 2026. Like go with what your spirit says. Don't go with the facts, so to speak, or what's being reported, or the evidence, Virgo. And of course, it's evidence that seems impossible to ignore. Virgo always is just so in your face with that evidence. So
Right.
it's going to take a lot of inner discipline, I think,
Yeah.
to really follow your light and not follow the world's, troubles.
Well, I think you and I both been, trying to prepare people with their discernment and,
Oh, yeah.
using the discernment to see, like, we talked about a couple of weeks ago how, we look for research on things. You've got both opposites saying it's true, and you talked about cholesterol. They say it's bad, it's good. It's like, so yeah, we have to be very discerning during that time too. But I just think that will solidify more of the manifestations of our future anyways, because we'll be more clear and insightful of seeing this is my next steps. And so I just think these things are tools to keep us in balance so we can have clear discernment,
Absolutely. And well, yeah, and I think also a clear line between old and new. And that's really one of the themes of 2025. That was old. Now it's going to be something different. And then waiting for that different to manifest, having the patience that it will follow through, because reality takes a minute to update. In my experience, 6 months for a personal intention at minimum to get something really manifested. So first half of the year might be a little frustrating for some, but I think it's, boom time for many others. Well, that brings me to a shameless plug, friend. Speaking of next year, I am plugging today my Countdown 2025 webinar. This is an annual event. I don't remember how many years I've done this now, but basically I do a live webinar. It'll be on January 11th. That's a Saturday, where I'll go for 2 straight hours talking through every month. Now, I've sharpened these over the years. I now just focus on the important things, the dates you need to be careful of, the dates you need to prepare for, and how to get ahead of the universe and the karma instead of feeling like you are being dragged behind the car. It's a great webinar. People love it. It's recorded. You can chat with other people. It's my biggest event of the year, frankly, and tickets are now on sale. Just navigate to senseiChristopher.com, and you'll also see there's an additional feature where you can pay more to have a question featured in the actual webinar. So that's cool. Trying that out. We'll tell you how it goes, Scott.
Awesome.
Yeah, get tickets now. All right. Well, it's time for our guest. You and I try to do one guest a month at least. This guest is more than a guest. She's a friend. She was with us yesterday eating dinner. And her kids. It was so nice. But, you and her were wonderful additions in the last couple of years to my life. So I'm very grateful to have her on. Her name is Crista Marie. And let's just go into her bio. As a young girl, Crista Marie was visited by special friends only she could see, bringing beautiful messages of love and fascinating stories of life from thousands of years in the past. Central among those friends was Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, which, if people don't know, Yeshua is the real name of Jesus. They told Crista Marie the true stories of their lives, shared their deep wisdom and teachings, and continued with transformational guidance for all of humanity. Today, Crista Marie channels Mary Magdalene, a generally misunderstood real-life historical figure, and brings her teachings to the modern world during this rapid change of evolution, which we just talked about. Her latest work can be found on SeriousJoy.com. She has a podcast there where she debuted on the first day of Sagittarius. It's a new private podcast titled Sovereign Revolution, where Crista teaches the fundamentals of the 4 sovereignty pillars and channels the no other Mary Magdalene. So without further ado, please welcome for the show for the first time, our friend, Crista Marie. Yay! Yay! Hello, dear.
Hi.
Are you bloated? Are you bloated?
No, I'm actually fine. I'm good. I took my probiotics. So I'm
Oh, okay. Did Mary nudge you for that?
probably. She does everything for me.
Yeah, she does. It's really interesting to see you work because you seem to go in and out of her a lot.
I do.
Like talking to me and everything. I guess let's start at the very beginning, and Scott, jump in when you feel it. Like, it says you started channeling Mary Magdalene at a very young age, right? How old were you?
7 years old.
So what is that like? Is this an imaginary friend at first? How are you rationalizing it at that age?
Right.
Well, I honestly do not know a life without spirit in it. I have seen spirit my whole life. My earliest memories are looking through the crib bars at my sister crying on the bed and seeing her spirit guides over her, trying to comfort her and trying to figure out, why can't she hear the comfort? Why isn't she acknowledging them? So this has been a part of my life forever. At the age of 7, a very vital twist happened in my life where spirit began to interact with me. I was actually at a toy store in Santa Barbara, California, and I saw a spirit, a ghost, leaning and doing something, kneeling by a running creek. And this was reality on top of a reality. Like I said, I was extremely used to seeing this. But this one came in with so much detail, and I could smell him. I could hear the running creek, and I could also still see the toys in the toy shelves. So there was this multiplicity going on. And when I went to go take a step closer to him, he noticed me, freaked out, and started bum rushing me, cursing, yelling, spit flying out of his mouth. And he actually came at me with so much energy and force that he actually knocked a couple of toys off the shelf.
Oh,
And
geez.
again, this was the first time spirit had noticed me and interacted with me. And that was an extremely traumatizing event. And I was like, if this is what it's like communicating and talking with spirit or seeing spirit, I'm done. I'm out. Like, I was like, no, 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 no.
Yeah, I mean, to be haunted in Toys R Us at the Barbie aisle, it's got to be pretty daunting at that time.
Yep.
Yeah. Did anyone else witness the toys flying off the shelf?
Yeah. So, long story short, my dad used to watch a show called Unsolved Mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple weeks after that show, after a couple of weeks after that event at the toy store, I was watching that show, and that show always used to freak me out, and it still freaks me out with the theme music. I'm like, I used to like just rush down the hallway in my bedroom and slam the door. I'm like, nope, 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 don't want anything to do with that, because it just always hit a little too close to home. But that one time I was just like, I was doodling, I was doing something, and I didn't notice that the show had started. And when I looked up, there was a psychic medium on that show in the same exact toy store I had just been at, talking to this same spirit I had seen.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Synchronicity.
Yeah.
That's
So
affirmation.
that was definitely, source spirit guiding me and saying, and I saw this, grown woman in her power, in her sovereignty, saying, and just, communicating, oh yeah, this ghost is mad, he's angry, and it didn't affect her at all. And he's like, he throws toys off the shelf because the employees were complaining about it. And I'm like, well, here's a woman who's grown, has the same gifts as I do. And it was the first time I had witnessed somebody with the same gifts. So it made me think. And then again, a couple weeks later, I was in my treehouse. I was meditating. I was now I know I was meditating, but I go into like trance-like states. And when a male spirit popped up next to me, and I'm like, oh no, 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 I'm not doing this, not doing this, not doing this. And I started climbing down. And again, long story short, that spirit guy ended up being my main spirit guide by the name of Eloise. Shortly after that, Yeshua came to me in a very profound way, and started teaching me about protection and how to not be scared and how to stand in my sovereignty, and very, very direct directives that taught me how to just not be scared of spirit, not be scared of ghosts. Even if they're coming at me, throwing toys at me, he taught me how to stand in my power.
It's wonderful. So when you finally had that like realization that you had the control of power, what was like the next thing that led you into like really being open to the channeling process? Because now you've realized, okay, this is safe, but what was your first step into that process?
So I actually didn't start channeling until Magdalene came into my life. Magdalene came into my life. I'm extremely clairvoyant. I see. My secondary is clairaudient, which means I hear. But she came to me in a very unique way, where I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. I was using my sister's glitter pens, super naughty. Yeah. And but I've always loved art. I've always loved creating, and like the way these glitter pens flowed onto the paper just put me into trance. And the scent came over me that was very distinct of rose and a lavender. And I heard in my head that, don't worry, I'm here, because I was questioning about who my mother was, like who, because my sister was like my mom, and she had just moved away. And I was like, who's my mom? And like, who's going to be like a mother figure to me? And that's when I smelt that, and I heard, don't worry, I will be your mother figure. I'm here to teach you your deeper metaphysical teaching.
Wow.
How old were you?
I was a 7.
Okay, yeah, because 7 is spirit year. It's a Neptune year.
Yeah.
So I believe the crown chakra opens up. The child starts having dreams that are past life memory dreams, like sometimes scary dreams. So fascinating on that level. So what about your parents? Like, what was their response? I mean, it sounds like you kind of have I wouldn't say average, but it seems like you came from a normal home,
Yeah,
Midwest kind of energy, even though it's California.
totally.
What was their response?
It was indifferent, very
Huh.
much like la 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 la. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but don't remember her at all from my childhood, even though
Mm,
she was consistently there.
Mm.
She was a chain smoker, and I was highly allergic to cigarette smoke, so
mm,
she was constantly locked away in the laundry room smoking.
Mm.
So my sister, who's 11 years older than me, kind of took over as my mother figure. She
wow.
got pregnant at 17 and moved out.
Your
Mm.
sister. Yeah.
My sister did, yeah, and so that's when I was questioning who my mom was. I didn't come out of the medium closet, as I say, until 2018, when I started to do this work publicly.
Holy moly, that's
Um,
recent.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's right when you were
and
also into Taurus, by the way.
but I've been in this world for a long time, and my dad would always, there's whenever you hang out with me, there's always something that happens. It's just unexplainable.
Right.
Hmm.
And so when I finally told my dad, he was like, my dad's a very quiet Vietnam vet, very doesn't say much.
Hmm.
And when I told him, he was like, he's like, you know what? There was always something different. Something was a little off, and there's a lot of things that happened. He's like, this makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
And it was like he didn't even really second guess it. In fact, it opened up many doors about Magdalene. He was raised very Catholic, went to Catholic school.
Wow.
And that just happened recently in the past couple of years when he started questioning about Magdalene. But it was always it's my imagination.
Mm.
Oh, you have a fantastic imagination.
Right,
Right.
And
right.
I
That
was
pink
a
dragon friend
kid.
of yours is
Ex
cute, I'm sure, honey. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, yep, and I always did have a fantastic imagination because I was a reader, I was a researcher, I've always been a writer,
Mhm.
and
Right.
so but they never told me imagination was not real,
Right.
so I just thought, "Oh, spirit means imagination." So,
Hmm.
I was never shut down. I was also an important fact is I was not raised religious.
Mm.
Neither one of my parents went to church. So when Yeshua and Magdalene came to me, it took me a while to learn that they were real people.
Mm.
It took me many years, in fact. But they were just beings that had answers for me. And
Sure.
I've always been trying to think of a nice term to say. I've always been very avid about answers.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I know you spent a lot of your time like doing that within. Did you ever have any type of mentors or people like friends that you were able to share it with? Like, did you keep it all within the whole
No.
time?
I was every time I would bring it up in school, I was very horribly bullied.
Mm.
I do have one best friend, Allison. Shout out Allison. She's been my best friend since kindergarten. But she is science based.
Mm.
She is tenure at a prominent college here in Southern California of social psychology. She has her doctorate. So she's been kind of like my grounding force because we were always trying to figure out what was wrong with me. Like,
Right.
do I have dissociation disorder? Do I have multiple personalities? And so
Mm.
that's what got her into psychology, was trying to diagnose me.
The two of you
um,
were diagnosing, not you and your family. They accepted it.
right.
Right.
My
That's
family, yeah. My sister was gifted as I was, and so she helped me. But it wasn't until I was 16 years old that my first main huge mentor came into my life. I was at a bookstore when two books fell off a shelf, and one of them was The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. That led me into what was called religious science at the time, and I started going to the Religious Science Center in Palm Desert, California. And there, this woman saw me, and she was an older woman, and she immediately saw me, and it was like she could just see through anybody. And my mom and I joined a women's group, and she would join the women's group every once in a while. And this woman came one time. My mom would always talk. She was a talker. She was very lively and bubbly, and any chance she got to socialize, she would go and socialize with groups of people. And I was a reader, so she would always go and have these long conversations after the women's group, and I would sit there and read. And so one of these days I was sitting there reading, my mom was in a conversation, and this older woman who kept looking at me and watching me for the past couple of months came and sat next to me, and she kind of patted me on the knee, and she's like, "Crista?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Can I ask you a question?" And I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "Do you see spirit?" And I went like pale white ghost. I was like I looked at my mom, and she's like, and the woman saw that. She's like, "It's okay. It's okay. If you don't want to know, if you don't want to say anything, and you don't want to, it's okay." And I was like, and she's like, "Can I ask you one more question?" And I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "Do they speak through you?" And that's when it was like floodgates open. I just started bawling, crying so hard. And that woman turned out to be Louise Hay, who started Hay House.
Wow.
Louise Hay. She saw me at 16 years old, and she asked me how I learned to channel, how I everything, and all her questions I had answers right away, because it was just like I was just holding it back for so long.
Someone saw you. Someone saw you.
Right.
And so I was blessed at age 16 that, I remember channeling for her and Wayne Dyer and Michael Beckwith, and like her, she was the beautiful guide, because she taught me how to keep asking questions. She got me, in touch with the right people. So I was with Hay House from the ages of 16 to 24.
Wow.
And around amazing spiritual people.
What was that like, though? I mean, you're a teenager, you're popping pimples, you're not sure what to wear out to the dance, and you got Wayne Dyer asking you life questions. Like, do you just like go with what comes to you and have no idea if it's really helping? Was that kind of the space you're in?
No, I've always had this gift. If somebody asks me a question, I have an answer. It comes.
We call that a Virgo, but okay.
Maybe a little. But, or if I don't, I am honest and say, I don't know right now, but spirit always provides me a path to get my answer. And Magdalene, that's why I have a possibility. Maybe Magdalene was Virgo, or she had strong placement of Virgo, because she is strong details. I ask and she provides, and it's detailed, scientific, very, like, I love her. I love her so much. And she's the same way. When she doesn't know, she'll bring other people in to help answer. So I have very specific guides for different things that I utilize for. But Magdalene, I just only channel Magdalene. She's the only one I go to. And if any other being wants to come forward now, they have to go through her.
When was it during that getting to know Mary Magdalene? When was it really kind of locked in with you? Like, I'm actually a channel for her. I'm going to start expressing her wisdom, her knowledge. At what point was the pinnacle of that experience with your channeling with her?
Yeah. So going back to 7 years old, I might have been 8, closer to 8, but it was like right around there. I was losing chunks of time. And
in reality, you mean? Like
in reality, yeah.
So
I would go out to my tree house at like 10 a.m. And then next thing I would know, my mom would be calling me in for lunch. I'd be like, and so I've always been inquisitive. Yeshua taught me super early. I never go into fear. I get curious. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I was like, well, how can I record? Video cameras weren't common at that time. Yes, I'm that old. But what I had was an old school Fisher-Price recorder. And I took it out to my treehouse and hit record one day, and then I had a blackout moment, and then when I came to, I hit play, and I was talking, but it was not my voice.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm like, okay. And Magdalene came in immediately and said, "This is me. This is me. This is part of your purpose. This is what we're here to do. This is why you came here to life, into life, in order to teach these teachings."
And so that's been consistent since then, right? So since 17, you've been consistently honoring that, right? And so of course it's grown, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I find, well, I don't know if you can expose this or share this, so stop if it's private, but your name is Crista, Christ, Marie, Mary. Like it seems kind of like set up from the beginning. Has Mary talked about that, or have you exchanged that? That was this some plan you guys hatched in a past life, or is this a plan you hatched in heaven? Do you know the background on this?
Absolutely, I do. So Crista does not have an H in my name.
I noticed.
So I am a science geek. I love quantum mechanics. I love quantum reality. So when I was at 10 years old, when I was asking Magdalene, how am I doing this? And she's like, well, it's frequency and it's waves and it's light. And I'm like, no. I need better details. And that is when she called in one of my other main guides by the name of Walter Russell. Walter, if anybody knows of him, he was a divine channel science individual who was actually friends with Tesla. And when Walter channeled his material, Tesla actually said, Walter, do not publicize these teachings for at least another 300 years. The world is not ready. But Walter did. And so Walter Russell, phenomenal. He teaches about quantum and light and frequency. And so between Magdalene and Walter, they taught me from the ages of 10 to 21 about the 12 consciousness bodies and taught me how I was doing what I was doing. But when I asked Magdalene, and this was 2019, 2020, because I was at Conscious Life Expo and everybody was a channeler. Everybody was a medium. I'm like, what's so special about me? Like, yeah, I know I channel Magdalene, but what about me? And again, long story short, I went into meditation and they're like, okay, we're going to tell you your soul purpose. I'm like, okay, fantastic. And they said, it's your name. I'm like,
it's your name?
It's my name. Crista. And I'm like, they're like, when you get out of meditation, Wikipedia your name. I'm like, who Wikipedia's their name?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it turns out I did. And Crista is the inner membranes of mitochondria.
Huh.
Wow.
So
Okay.
Crista, Crista, literally means that it takes the proteins. And now Magdalene just channeled this on Serious Joy on the Sovereign Revolution about biophotons. That biophotons are created by the mitochondria. So the mitochondria is literally the energy, the cell house, the storehouse of the cell, the energy storehouse of the cell. So Crista literally means I create light. I create energy. And that's my sole purpose, because I'm here to teach about light and light body. That's what the whole 12 consciousness bodies and sovereignty pillars is about strengthening your light body.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. You're a researcher, a channeler, an author, and you call yourself a master hypnotherapist. So, you are always sort of juggling Mary's message and your own work. But it's kind of interesting. I mean, you're researching times of Mary Magdalene, in, I guess, textbooks and whatnot. And then you can go to the source and ask if it's true. Like, what's that like? I mean, have you came across texts such as the Bible that was not necessarily on par with what she's telling you?
Yeah. So, in my teenage and early 20s with Hay House, I would come across channelers or different people who would talk about Magdalene and, or even books. And Magdalene quite literally would knock books out of my hand. Anything about her, I was not allowed to read, or at least that was not up to her par. Until I came across an amazing book called The Expected One, which is behind me, by Kathleen McGowan. And this is a fiction book. But when I read this, I was like, this is not fiction. I'm like, and I remember looking on the back cover. I'm like, this is not, and everything that Magdalene had told me up to her point of her life was in this book, plus more details. I'm like, who is this woman? Again, lo and behold, right after COVID, friend requested Kathleen McGowan on Facebook. Who does that but me? Request her favorite author. And Kathleen accepted me. And again, long story short, we became really good friends. She's one of my best friends now. And she is the lead historical researcher on Magdalene. She's done 30 plus years of research. And she's not a big fan of channelers.
Wow.
So when I first met her, she's an Aries. She's
Capricorn.
fiery. I
Hmm.
love her. But she called me out and she's like, I've met so many women who either claim they're Magdalene reincarnated or that they channel a Magdalene and they're all full of BS.
Mm.
And one thing led to another, and she saw me channel and she came back and said, I got to kind of eat my words.
Mm.
She's
That's
like,
from an
you're the
Aries,
real deal.
mind you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Very
like, you're
rare.
the real deal. How do you want to use this gift? What do you want to do? I'm like, I just want to travel and teach. That's all I've ever wanted to do. I've always saw myself on stage teaching. And she's like, do you have a book? I'm like, I don't want a book, because Louise always tried to get me to get a book and write a book. And my parents always blocked me on that. And so it was a very sore point for me. But Kathleen's like, and Magdalene's like, you need a book. So I have finished my book, and with Kathleen's help, and Kathleen has opened so many doors for me. And she's, like I said, she's my best friend. I'm her personal assistant. I help organize all her material. And so all my material that I've channeled about Magdalene, I now have like historical paper documents, books that I can go back
Wow,
and
that's
say, here's
fascinating.
this, here's that.
That's interesting
So very
theme I see among psychics and mediums, even myself, is you get affirmation. They manifest affirmation situations in your life that's undeniable. What, especially when it's your path and it's your purpose. I mean, some of the
Right.
stories, I've heard you tell me some of my stories, just you wouldn't believe it unless you experienced it yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to France and walked the Mary Magdalene walk? Have you done that experience? If so, like, tell us about that.
Absolutely.
Curious about that.
So going back to Kathleen again, so she does not like channelers, and she kind of went off on a rant on Facebook about channelers, and I went, and we were just becoming friends, and I messaged her and I said, hey, like, how can I go out there and be a channeler of Magdalene and teach this stuff? How can I do that in an ethical way?
Mm.
You want the truth? And she's like, you want to say apart from other channelers? I'm like, yeah. She's like, go walk in her footsteps. Let me
Mhm.
France. Yeah, Kathleen took me to southern France and showed me all the places, and also Egypt, because Magdalene's path is very linked in with Egypt. And so, yeah, and it's changed my life. I go there now, France and Egypt, about 2 to 3 times a year.
Wow.
And I'm
Mm.
constantly researching and learning. I am now working with a producer, and we're doing a documentary off of off my travels in southern France.
Yeah. I
Looking
talked
forward
to
to that.
her, the director producer, and she was saying the closer you got to the actual caves, the less of you she saw. She saw just Mary coming
Oh, I
fully
didn't know
on.
that.
Yeah, she
Wow.
was like, I didn't even see Krista. I was a little worried, where is she? And I guess she was assured by Mary that you were just sitting off in the corner like a ghost watching the whole thing. But it's just being close to that vibration. But this begs the question. There's so many gossip, unanswered questions about Yeshua's passing. And it seems like you got the inside gospel on that. I mean, Yeshua did ascend, yes. Did
Absolutely.
he come back in light body form? Like, what
Yes.
happened?
Yeah. Okay. So, and now that I've, traveled and worked with Kathleen a lot, I do see where channelers can get tripped up a little bit. We have yet to find any documented proof that he survived the crucifixion. And plus all the teachings that Magdalene taught me in my reality and the reality I choose to be in, he died on the cross.
Died on
And
the cross.
he died on the cross. He did not survive the crucifixion. And this was part of the plan of strength, because he strengthened his light body so much
Mm.
in order to so this was taught to me really early on, about because he did not die for our sins, people. He did not die for our sins. That was something made up by the church. And in fact,
Right.
in Magdalenes Gospel, found in the Gnostic Gospels, it was actually found before the Gnostic Gospels were found, and it was found in 1849 in a Coptic church in Egypt. It says, there is no sin. It is you who make sin exist by acting against your corrupted nature. And Yeshua literally said this, and I fully believe it. The real reason I believe why he died on the cross was before he died on the cross, souls would cross out of the body and kind of be like fumbling around in the dark, like always like
Mm.
looking for the light switch. This is why Egypt had elaborate death rituals. And many cultures have these death rites and death, and even Magdala was trained as a death doula. So Yeshua and Magdalene coming together, they're like, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way for when the soul leaves the body that they can go into heaven quicker. And they're not wandering around the dark. And so from their teachings, mainly from Hermetic, Kemetic, and Essenic teachings, they learned a lot about the light body and learned how to strengthen the light body. So between Magdalene and Yeshua together, Yeshua strengthened his light body so much that when he died on the cross, he literally created a light path for us to follow after death.
Really? So he like blazed a fire trail that leads you right to heaven.
Exactly.
Wow, that's impressive, Yeshua. I had no idea, brother. I'm so grateful.
So I
Never
think
get
that's
lost.
way better than dying for our sins. But
Oh yeah.
so whenever you say, oh, I saw a light at the end of the tunnel, or I was in a tunnel of light, Yeshua literally created that from his light body.
Amazing.
So
Interesting.
that's what I learned
Now,
about the truth.
Yeshua is not Mary's first husband.
No.
That's also interesting.
Yeah. We do have documentation that Magdalene was married to John the Baptist first.
Oh, wow.
So Magdalene was born into a very wealthy family. Her father was an entrepreneur, landowner, fishing trade. He was involved in a lot of different trades. One of Magdalene's father's good friends was Joseph of Arimathea, which was Mother Mary's brother, Yeshua's uncle. Through these family connections, Magdalene's family wanted her to be married into the Davidian line. I believe that Yeshua and Magdalene kind of had like not a love affair, but there was definitely a connection early in life. They knew each other early in life. But Yeshua disappeared for 30 years. And he had
Going on a walk.
yeah, there's a lot of missing years there. That not 30 years, but a good chunk of time. Because he didn't return until he was 30. But the closest relative that was of marrying age was John, which was Yeshua's cousin. So that's who Magdalene ended up marrying. I will say John was not the nicest of people. He was extremely abusive, emotionally, physically, mentally, would beat her up a lot. They did have one child together.
Beer. Wow.
So very, very abusive. In fact, that was one of the reasons why. So Salome, his mother, tried every which way to help Magdalene get out of this marriage. And on the documentation that the Vatican has, that we have seen, that there is documentation that says one of the reasons why John the Baptist was beheaded was for public spousal abuse, because at the time you could beat your wife in private, but not in public.
Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that.
Right. Come on.
That's crazy. And a founder of, a well-known church right now, you know what I mean? And also that, I don't know, I want to post any judgments, but Baptist church for me is pretty intense. I felt very uncomfortable when I go to Baptist church. I just myself felt a little tiny little boy in that authority coming across, which is interesting. It sounds like it started with his personality.
It did. Right. Well, the whole, Baptist movement, even because it was very much John against Yeshua. There was some rift that happened with them where, John thought he was the Messiah, and Yeshua was like, well, I think I am. And so there was this constant back and forth of like, who's better? And there are lines out there who feel that John was the correct Messiah. And so, and even, Magdalene's son, who was John the evangelist, who started the evangelist church.
Wow.
After Yeshua passed, her child's John got sucked back up into with the John the Baptist crowd, and thought, oh, actually, my dad was the Messiah, not my stepdad. And so he went back and actually didn't talk with Magdalene for the remainder of her life, pretty much.
Wow. Interesting.
And they demonized Magdalene right away. They demonized Magdalene even before, her passing.
That's interesting, because I was gonna ask you too, like, because why has Magdalene's story gotten so distorted? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like we don't really find the real truths about what she's taught, what she's writing. So I'm glad to have you to do so. But why has it gotten so distorted? Her message.
Fear, power, and control.
Right.
Right. Taking away the feminine power.
Right.
Who was the first person to see Yeshua rise from the tomb? Magdalene.
Right.
There are paintings, and this is where we get a lot of our information, is from historical paintings. And so in a lot of the paintings, when, Magdalene sees Yeshua coming out of the tomb and, she mistakes him for the gardener. A lot of the paintings has Yeshua doing this motion and Magdalene doing this. That's actually him giving her the grace to carry on these teachings. She is receiving the teachings from him. And so that was this, that was her sovereign moment of, oh my gosh, I have to go about this alone. And so she went back to the disciples and said, hey, our teacher has shown himself to us. His light body survived. He's able to come into full form. He has survived. He has risen. And when she said he has risen, it means he has risen his frequency to the point where he can hold his light body in physical form, which we all can do.
Yeah.
Outside of the body.
Right.
So, and when she went back to tell the disciples, they're like, who are you? Who are you to tell us this? Like, why? And they were so jealous of Magdalene. They were so jealous of her because the few years that Magdalene and Yeshua had together as husband and wife, they spent a lot of time privately together, working on these teachings, because Yeshua couldn't find anybody who could actually grasp the material that he was trying to teach.
Wow.
So he continually taught in parables, because that's what people understood. But his disciples could not get this. Specifically, Peter went after Magdalene. And, in her gospel, he says, I don't believe what you're saying. I don't believe the teacher would talk to a woman in this manner.
Wow.
And then Matthew steps up and says, Peter, you've always been hot-tempered. And here you are repudiating a woman just like our adversaries do. This is not right. And who started the church, the Christian church? Peter.
Now, you told me a story off camera that Mary was, illegally, like through bribes, sent to education, like Yentl, like the movie Yentl. Like she was in there learning all the stuff as a young woman and a teenager, right? So she was incredibly educated as a woman, which was rare in itself, right?
Extremely rare. Yeah, because her father was well known, especially because of, his relationship with Joseph of Arimathea. So Magdalene was the youngest of 3 children. So Martha is the eldest. This is my feeling, my belief. Martha was the oldest. Lazarus, who was raised from the dead, was her brother. He was the middle child, and Magdalene was the youngest. Magdalene received land in Magdala. That's kind of where her name comes from.
Interesting.
And so she didn't really want anything to do with the home or landowning, or she just wanted to read and research and learn. And her father and her father's friends honored that. And so through this and through, I'm sure, paying people off with money helped. Magdalene single-handedly funded Yeshua's ministry.
Wow.
Yep. So she came from a lot of money, and all she wanted to do was, like me, just travel and teach. And so she was welcomed into so many sacred temples and churches because of these family connections and because of money. But once she got in there, she was able to hold her own. She knew how to read. She knew how to write. She could read, 3 different languages and constantly learning more. And she just wanted education. And so when she would go into these temples, they didn't see her as a threat because she wasn't there for money. She wasn't there for power. She just wanted knowledge.
Yeah, and I think also like when you're in a position of being a spiritual leader or anything, someone walks in knowing what you're talking about, you're just like, oh, I guess God's already ordained you, so come on in.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
there's an immediate sort of credit from heaven.
Yep.
I want to cut back to his death and his passing. So, there's all sorts of stories. I can't remember the name of the movie that made it so popular, but like,
Da
first of
Vinci
all,
Code.
did they have a child? Did they have a child, Yeshua
Right.
and Mary?
Yeah, they had 2.
Okay, interesting.
Yes.
And were they
Um,
alive at the time of the crucifixion? Well, obviously they had to be. I mean, you need to
Right.
spend while he's alive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. No, it was not a virgin birth.
That was
Wasn't
him.
wasn't
Yeah.
no miraculous birth there. It happened the natural way. No. So Sarah Tamar or Tamar was their eldest daughter, and she was about 3 or 4 at the time of the crucifixion.
Mm.
And in the Stations of the Cross in France, I believe it's Station 4 that when Yeshua goes to meet the women and the children, a lot of the times it's Magdalene holding Sarah.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
And this is shown again and again and again in southern France. And when I do lead a tour there, come with me and I will show you these Stations of the Cross where Magdalene is shown prominently. And so she's holding Sarah, and you could tell she's like 2, 3, 4 years old, about that. And she was pregnant with Yeshua David at the time of the crucifixion. So she ended up having Yeshua David, their son, in Alexandria, Egypt, after the crucifixion.
Wow.
So they had
So, question about the channeling now too. So, how much of this do you think could it be possible that maybe you're Mary Magdalene incarnate, or is it actually a channel that you're also finding similarities? What do you think about that? I know some people might have questions about that. Are you actually her? Or
Absolutely. So I do feel, especially the more and more and more I work with her and channel with her, especially recently, I do feel I have integrated a part of her. But is she going to reincarnate? No. Is Yeshua going to reincarnate? No.
Oh, so there's no planned second coming then. That's
No,
official.
no, there is no second coming. But Magdalene's coming through so many people right now because
Nice.
her message is needed, and each one of us is bringing a different flavor or a different lens of this teaching. So I don't have all the teachings. Kathleen doesn't have all the teachings. And so this is why Magdalene's coming through different people. But no, I do not feel I am her. I am very much Crista. I love being Crista, and
We do.
but I honor her and her teachings, and yeah, but definitely she is not me.
And
We're very
how-
different.
How can people differentiate too, like those who maybe have a pure channel of Mary versus those that maybe don't? I think any key elements people can see if there's like someone who doesn't quite have her channel.
Ooh. I think that's personal choice. That is your sovereign choice. This is part of becoming a sovereign being, is making your own decisions.
Mhm.
Magdalene, the way I can tell Magdalene is she doesn't pussyfoot around. She's just straight to the point, and like, we're getting work done, and this is what we're doing, and you're going to go here, and now we're going to go here. Oh, you're not reading this book. Let me throw it at you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Very like, no, there's no, you cannot lack. There's no lack. There's no resting with her.
Mm-hmm.
So when she comes through with persistence.
Mhm.
And if you don't follow her rules, she'll very easily just go on to the next person.
Right.
She doesn't wait around. She doesn't beg. She doesn't plead. She's not soft. Mother Mary is very soft. She's
Mm-hmm.
very gentle. Though Mother Mary comes forward with this, authority figure, but Magdalene's just like, I don't have time for this. Let's just work. Like, and there's certain questions, certain topics that she won't even touch because she's like, the world's not there yet. Move on.
Right.
What's the next thing? So she's very opinionated and very straight and to the point. So that's how I can kind of tell.
Yeah, I mean, I've witnessed you go through transition. It's clearly she wore the pants in the family. I had no idea Yeshua. She was telling you what to do. Like, she's just one of those wives that keeps it all together. And this leads us to finally your work on SeriousJoy.com with Sovereign Revolution. Can you tell us a little bit about what Sovereign Revolution means, and then quickly tell us about your programs with the 4 pillars?
Okay. So the Sovereign Revolution is part of my soul purpose. I am here to teach everybody about their own sovereignty and how to find their soul purpose within their sovereignty. Everybody has a unique frequency, a unique tone to them, and it is utilized through different modalities. You can find this. But the first thing Magdalene ever taught me before we get into any deeper metaphysical trainings, I'm going to teach you about the sovereignty pillars. And the sovereignty pillars is a groundwork framework for any spiritual work that you're going to be doing. It's like the four cornerstones, and I see them as Grecian pillars. And the four pillars are security, and this is knowing who you are, knowing your step astrology, knowing your numerology, your human design, knowing every single aspect of you. This is a security pillar, knowing who you are, your morals, your ethics, your ancestral lineage. And then the next pillar is trust. Trusting in outside of yourself, trusting in your gut intuition, and also outside of yourself, trusting in the universe, trusting in divine timing. And then we move into safety pillar. Safety is you're safe to express who you are to the world. You have that safety to, if you want to, like my main spirit guide Eloise says, if you want to wear a sparkly golden tiara to the grocery store, you are safe to do so. That is safety pillar. And then the next is honor. And the honor pillar is honoring who you are, that trust, that faith, that it takes all the other pillars and really kind of wraps it up into this divine honor of who you are as an individual. And those are the sovereignty pillars. And we go through them in the Sovereign Revolution, because that is where we all begin with understanding. And it's setting up a framework for deeper metaphysical trainings that will be coming later on.
And she's coordinated to the step system. And to hear Mary talk about step numbers blows my mind. One, it totally reveals like, yep, this isn't my system. I was just trusted with it. But it's also so fascinating to have someone just chime in like a team leader and add things to it. And astrology show. Crista Marie is on 3 days a week on SiriusStar.com for subscribers. She's now moving into the Capricorn step numbers. And we're so grateful to have you on board. It's such a wonderful presence and just an honor for you to share your work, Crista. We appreciate you. It's really nice. So tell us how we can find you. You have a website, obviously. You do a ton of things. You do readings, right? You also do hypnotherapy. Is that correct? And tell us your whole palette. You're, Jane of all, master of none.
Yes. So I'm Crista Marie Miller across all platforms. Super duper easy. Just my name. And I have a Patreon as well. Patreon. So you just find me on Patreon, Crista Marie Miller. That's where I do my deeper teachings. We're going through the Gospel of Mary Magdalene right now. And once a month, I have an Ask Me Anything where you can ask me, literally, I channel and I answer questions once a month. That's my Patreon. I'm a clinical certified hypnotherapist. So I can do past life regressions, future life, anxiety. It's avocational, vocational therapy. I can also help with hypnobirths, medical procedures, all that. So I'm a licensed hypnotherapist. I spent 720 clinical supervised hours to become a licensed hypnotherapist. Yep, and I do readings, and I also do one-on-one coaching. I only take on a few one-on-one coaching at a time because I do like to pay specific attention to my one-on-ones. But yeah, and you can find me at Crista Marie Miller.
And she's channels dead people too. I mean,
yeah.
Krista's my personal telephone to some people who've crossed over. It's amazing. Really amazing. Yeah, it's nice to have. Well, Crista, thank you for coming on today. Stay backstage so we can gossip in a spiritual way. But we'd love to have you on again in the future when things unfold. And thank you again for being a part of this show and a part of Serious Joy. It's just an honor.
Yeah, it's an honor for me too.
And thank you for being Mary's voice, a true voice. We appreciate, and we need this. We need that information. So I appreciate that too.
When you hear Mary's voice, I mean, Krista's
no, it's not me.
Like, and out comes this woman that's like, I can take out the bacon, banana. It's like she's very like 70 strong kind of female matriarch icon. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crista. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Love you.
We do love her. She's our soul sister. Both of you in Palm Springs. And I'll just share this little tidbit. I sat down in the conversation with Mary, because I hadn't really seen it happen.
Right.
So I was like, Crista, before I put you everywhere in my life, on TV, everything, can I talk to Mary? Like whatever. And right away, Mary was like, this is, we brought you to Palm Springs for this reason. I'm like, I thought it was a free will choice. But it's interesting. I mean, it just blows your mind. Folks, you just got to try this stuff and see for yourself if it feels correct or not. You cannot, I'm not in the business of proving. You have to witness for yourself to know. That's it. So, take it for what it is. And Scott's the same brilliance, frankly.
Well, I mean, say curiosity goes a long way. I mean, you don't have to say, "Oh, I believe in it, so therefore I need to experience it." Just be a little curious and just open up your heart, and you start recognizing we all have that that access. So, yeah, the curiosity is all you need, really, to expand it.
Yeah, to stay open, totally. And speaking of curious, what's going on your channel tonight, brother?
Yeah, I mean, if I have the energy, I've been so sleepy, but yeah, we're doing just kind of an oversight of 2025. What to expect collectively. I'll be doing one-on-one questions on there too for reading, so kind of get a glimpse of where your 2025 is headed. So yeah, check me out tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Scott Cruz, and yeah, we'll kind of give you the tea for 2025.
And it's a fun crowd, by the way. If you're in the room, chat rooms, we're all like this family. We see each other every week. We bitch about our lives. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's a fun little group. I love it. It's my little church, so I appreciate it. And you all know me. I'm SeriousJoy.com, the sensei to SeriousJoy.com. I have, of course, my free show going on tomorrow night, Namaste Today Live. We'll talk about the planets of New Year's, and then also we'll have an Astro Mingle interview as well, focusing on dream interpretation. One of our favorites is back. So join me tomorrow night at 5 p.m., actually 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I always get it backwards. All right, well, dude, it's been another week.
Are you spent? I'm spent.
I'm exhausted. Yeah, I am. I'm just showing up as best I can. So if anyone's like, don't worry, I'm okay. But I am feeling Mars retrograde, man. Oh, well,
yes.
We'll see. It's been like this till February. So
it's been dense. February what, though?
23rd.
Oh, that long?
23rd. And it goes into Cancer. Did I tell you on camera? January 6th, Mars goes into Cancer. So it actually becomes more moody in January. This is the easy part.
Oh yeah. I mean, at least there'll be more energy, right? I mean, so what about we talked about, Mars affecting the libido? How's that going to be for people's libido? Is it going to change? Is it going to be a little better for the sexual expressions of things and intimacies? How's that going to be in that regard?
I think so. I mean, for instance, there's a couple of times with Mars in Leo where I got pissed off and I was full of energy. So I feel like Cancer is going to bring up those emotions. It's going to empower you. And, and if you're feeling, a little wonky, I think you'll be more likely to leap, right? But those will be kind of moments where you're doing dishes and suddenly you're embracing, what the hell that, you know what I mean? How'd that happen? We're naked in the kitchen. What happened?
That soap was very seductive to me. I don't know why,
Yeah, that fork, I don't know. So yeah, it'll be different. But it will be an energy shift, but that energy has to be channeled into managing your emotions, not expressing them or projecting them. So we'll talk more about that in the new year. All right, man. All right, everyone.
For next week's episode, actually, Christopher, that'd be great for next week's episode to talk about that. Managing emotions. We could talk about that next week.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Well, let's talk about when Mars goes in Cancer. I think that'd be the best time.
Okay.
Because Capricorn keeps everyone kind of cool. They get upset, but they keep it to themselves. Capricorn is the one energy that can hide the emotion even from yourself.
Right.
So be careful, y'all. I mean, you can keep it from the public, but you need to know you're upset, right?
Right.
But once Mars is in Cancer, everyone will know you're upset.
True.
Yeah, totally. All right, folks, we are so grateful for you all. We'll be back 1 week from now. Thank you for watching. And remember, don't put up with a shift show. Lead out loud.
Lead out loud.
See you next week.
Bye, beautiful.
All right. Well, that was good.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to nap now.
Oh, I am too.
Take a little nap. Get a face mask, You should do get some cucumbers, do all that stuff. Rejuvenate, Christopher. Rejuvenate.
I have a couple of masks I haven't tried right now.
Good. Well, what about the one you're wearing now?
The mask I'm wearing now? The public mask? Yeah.